Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pood. You thought we weren't doing it this week, but we are. A little bit late, but a little bit late's okay, right? We're waiting for Jim's, but guess what? Guy's not here. We've replaced him with someone way better. Shio. Look at that man. He's here. We got the boys and we got Rostermania. So, it's a little bit wild and for the Call of Duty world at the moment, especially Twitter. Twitter be wild and a lot of team ideas coming out. But we got CNK. That's me. I don't know why I said myself first. We got Jake, we got Dapper, and we got Shio, and we got Matty Ice on the desk. I mean, behind the desk, same thing, different day.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolutely great time. There's been a lot of roster bombs. I mean, you thought the Call of Duty season was over, but it never ends around these parts because you can always stay on Twitter and just wait for something. Just keep refreshing your page until something interesting pops up. Because I mean, boy, has there been some interesting moments to happen since this post champs run. I mean, I feel like we have a lot to talk about. We're gonna have a great time, and now that we got Shio. Shio, I'm pretty sure Shio doesn't know about anything Rostermania related, so we're going to teach him today about everything that's gone down so far.
I mean, the full extent of my knowledge is that everyone is fired, and most of the teams do not have a team. So I'm very on top of stuff, very clearly.
I mean, you're not too far off.
I mean, that's pretty much how it goes.
Dapper, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I'm looking at my right monitor right now. I'm seeing a lot of empty teams.
Oh yeah,
and
there's a lot of spots.
People saying like work 60, is going to need to be done.
It's like 70% of the league is empty right now. Like there's like nobody signed, and anybody can go anywhere. Shout out the 1+1s because they've all come to fruition at this very instant right now. Because I guess last year. Yeah, besides Wardy, he did not get extended. But there's only a few teams remaining, and we're gonna go over that real shortly. But it's a lot to get into. So maybe if you don't know about everything that's happened in Rostermania, we can fill you guys in because we can kind of give the spark. It's gonna be more than a spark note. It's gonna be a deep dive, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're giving it.
Shout out the long off season though. Can we just say it right now? The long off season. Shout out, right? We all love it. We're all excited for the fact that competitive Call of Duty's gone for like what 5-6 months, maybe 7. Super excited.
Think about it. Technically, off season was always the same length, because unless they started in February.
Well,
they keep it the whole early schedule.
No, because they started early, right, for this last season. So that means that this is the longest off season we've ever had by like what, like a month, like 2 months, right?
Yeah, for
sure. It's only like 4 or 3, right?
But yeah, do you think about Vanguard? It's like everything started in like February, and everyone's like, "This is too late." Which, in fairness, it was most definitely too late. Like February's insane when the game comes out in October, November. So like they're like, "All right, guys, we'll just move it to December." But like they didn't like keep the length. They kept the length the same. They just kind of shifted it over. So now we got 2 months less. Because, I mean, I remember for both of the champs I went to, they were both in August, and, now it's June, and June's not over yet, but the season's over, so that's interesting. So, that 2 months is just in the ether now. I mean, I guess, we got the long off season, and it's going to be a fun time. What are you going to say, Dapper?
I was going to say, isn't the off season, hasn't it always been like 5 or 6 months?
I don't think it's ever been this long.
Because champs is in August. And then the season was starting in February. So that's 6 months.
Well, I mean, at least the game would come out. You know what I mean? So, like, I feel like the game being out, like, even though the season hasn't started, like, that doesn't necessarily count as the off season because at least you get to like participate in everything that's going on. You know what I mean?
See, what I count as the off season
is going to be like random.
The first league match starts. That's when my off season ends.
So, like, you're getting like legit like tournaments and stuff that we're not going to get this season at all. Like we're going to have literally 7 months of nothing.
Except for the COD Rec League, baby. You know how it is.
We got something, baby. We got something.
Absolutely. Well, I guess we'll start getting into it now because, there's a lot of teams to talk about. 12 to be exact. I mean, maybe -1 if you count New York, because that's the only team that is not making a change, seemingly. I mean, I guess, yeah, they're the only team because, I mean, you could potentially say that Toronto doesn't change if some things go like an interesting way, but they already dropped Hixie, so that's unlikely. But I guess we start out with this little document we have right here. Shout out Jacob Hale for creating this document, and we can start out with Dapper's very own Atlanta FaZe, and we should maybe let Dapper take control of what has happened with Atlanta FaZe this offseason so far, and what do you think is going to happen in the future, because it's looking mixy.
Man, Rostermania is my least favorite part of the year because it's just you're left clueless on what your fourth is going to be. And
Your
then
fourth.
if you care about COD as much as I do, you get kind of anxious about it. I'm really sad to see Slasher go. Slasher played great, especially on LAN. Man was a dog. I mean, he wanted those wins, and I'm happy he got one this year with the FaZe squad because I mean Slasher deserves it. But I don't know. They're playing with my emotions over here. I'm hearing different rumors every day, not every day, every other day, more than likely, about who our new fourth is going to be. I mean, one day was Insight, next day was Draza, and I would much rather prefer Insight mainly because I'm not a big Draza fan at all.
You just want the same problem you've had for like years, then? You just want to have two main ARs on the same team and they're both slow? You just want to have that same, like, I get it. It's great. It's fun to watch Atlanta FaZe have two fast subs and two ARs that just like don't move. It's great. It's a
Those
good time.
glaciers. They just stand there.
I
all you
love it
gotta
as a
do.
non-FaZe fan who's anti-Atlanta FaZe. Like, I love it. You know what? Pick up Insight. See what happens. I guarantee you get the same results as this year, if not worse.
Yep.
Just do it.
See, picking up Draza would be the best choice.
No, don't do that though.
Just
Don't do
I
that.
don't like the guy, but would I like
hey.
having him on the team for his skill? Yeah, but for himself, no.
It's just ingrained in your FaZe fan blood to just hate that guy. Like you're in the stands screaming "F you, Draws," and he's flipping you off. That's you. Oop, I just flipped off the cam.
Dapper's
Sorry,
the guy,
chat,
dude.
but
I
you know how it is,
will
Dapper.
admit I was talking my fair share of crap in Boston.
Oh, I bet you were.
I was talking a lot of crap.
There was a lot of crap being talked at the seat behind me.
Gosh, bro. Rip.
Gio, if you were FaZe's GM, who do you think you're going with? As an unbiased party, your FaZe's GM.
And
What do you
Sib.
think's going on?
Can't forget about Sib. I would love to have Sib too.
That hasn't really been
Sib
Sib going full
dude, that's
circle
not-
would be
he's
kind
not
of
coming
wild. I
back,
won't
bro.
lie.
Do I think
think
he's gonna
Sib?
come to FaZe? No.
You don't want him.
I don't think I'd pick Sib. I mean, I think the favorite rumor right now for me is probably Ghosty to FaZe. I think that would be kind of cool.
That would be interesting.
Like
I actually
just
like
like
that show.
both for him and like for the roster as well. Like, I mean, you're looking at like Slasher was your veteran presence, right? And like, you don't really need veteran presence anymore. The guys have been here long enough that you don't need it. I mean, you could sort of count them as like more vets now compared to like
dude, they're vets.
the time of the rest of the scene. I mean, you look at like Toronto was rumored, right? You're gonna have freaking veteran Scrappy.
These guys have been in like every CDL finals. I think we can call them vets at this point.
Yeah, it's like that leadership thing was most definitely like a thing to talk about back when it was like, oh, okay, after MW, it's like these guys probably need to pick up Arcides because they need that leadership. And I guess maybe they didn't necessarily need that after the Vanguard season because they were probably vets at this point. But the longer time goes on, I feel like it definitely gets farther and farther away from that point where it's like these guys need leaders. Like, no, these guys know what they need to do on the map. You can see like Simp changing his playstyle to kind of, help that situation out. So I feel like you could pick up Sib, you could pick up Draws, just because you don't really need that veteran leadership. But maybe somebody like Ghosty would work, because maybe he could kind of like, because obviously on Optic he was that veteran presence, ironically, even though he's literally younger than me. But it's like if Ghosty can just like focus on kills, like he might be gross. You never know.
I mean, real talk though, can we even confirm that Ghosty wasn't Tyler Fellow?
I don't know.
Like, he could have been that veteran presence we were looking for. Like, we actually have no idea. They look the same. They sound the same. Like,
they're playing Florida. Dashi like, good job, Dan. He turns to the right. There's just no one next to him. He's like, what's going on? He looks over to the other side of the stage. Just Tyler Fellow all alone. He's like, what's going on?
That'd be so amazing.
You never know. You never know. I mean, I wasn't on that stage. I couldn't confirm what went on.
I didn't see it. I've never seen them both in the same room at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Atlanta FaZe. The one thing for Atlanta FaZe, they always have unlimited options because they're just so good that you can kind of pick up anybody and you could probably fit them into the pie.
And they have money. That's the other thing.
Like, I was skeptical of signing Slasher in the beginning of MW2, but after I saw how he played, I was pretty happy about it.
I
Is
just
he
feel
the
like
man now?
So I
I feel
really
like
do
it's
not
the
mind.
same thing with this team every single time. It's like we're at the point now where like Salim would be the best main AR in the game if they just made him actually officially the main AR.
I
Like
agree.
he'd
We just
actually
need a
be the best
flex.
at it, and then bring in a true flex or move Simp to flex and bring in another sub. Like do whatever you got to do, but like get an actual flex on this team and let Salim just do his thing. Like Salim doesn't want to touch the sub. That's fine. Let him run the main like he wants to. But
You know
they just
what?
got to stop doing this like whole fake thing where it's like, well, Salim wants to be the flex, says he's the flex, he is the flex, he plays the flex. It's like, no, he doesn't. We all watch the same game. We all watch the same thing every single year, back like over and over and over again, every single match. Yeah, they play great because they can go plus 40 on a team and still lose a hard point. Like, come on.
I mean, so what if, all these rumors, Rostermania rumors are like false, and then, one of these teams just come out of left field and sign someone no one ever expected them to sign.
It's gonna happen. There's gonna be a team for sure. Like one of these teams that's like good, like a Boston, for example, is a team that's probably gonna be good by the end of Rostermania. They might not be like much better than that like T6 like you would expect out of a Boston with like their rebuild they're gonna do. Like I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's a team that just like went and got somebody. You were like, oh wow, what? Or like even LAG. Wouldn't be surprised if they actually just started signing like legit talent. Like I wouldn't be shocked one bit.
It's
Mhm.
possible. I think we should probably move on here from Atlanta FaZe. But one thing I do want to bring up is that possibility that everybody's been kind of, it's like a shadow underneath the Call of Duty community right now. It's like, what if Toronto sells Scrappy to FaZe? That's kind of the final like rumor that has been like an option, and I'm sure that Dapper would be absolutely ecstatic if that was to occur. He's just that one player for FaZe that you feel like if they sign Scrap, all of their problems would be solved. Am I right, Dapper?
I would love Scrappy. I would love
Nah,
Scrappy.
bro. Because you know what that team would do too. That team would immediately make him the main AR and then put Salim on flex. And then it's just gonna be the same problem.
Hey,
No.
we have Scrappy.
No,
They
they'll
can
do
do
it. They'll
whatever
do
the
it.
hell
You know
they
they're
want
gonna
to
do
do.
it.
They can do whatever they want.
Yeah,
We
you know
get
what? They'll still
Scrappy. I'm
lose.
just gonna kick
They'll
my
s-
feet
You know
up.
what? They'll still get second at champs, Dapper.
You know
I'm
what?
just kidding.
It'd be better than the other 10 teams in the
If
league.
they lost with that team, it would be insane.
Hey,
It would
hey,
be.
we would still be better than Optic, no matter what we do.
Okay, Mr. Bandwagon. Okay, I see how it is. Okay,
Oh
cool.
my gosh.
We're gonna
Here we
move
go
on. We're gonna talk
again.
about the Minnesota Rocker. This team has a fantastic lineup right now. It's fantastic.
I don't know why
I
that
tell
hit
you
me
what,
so hard.
I mean, I love this roster. It used to be Bance, Afro, Cammy, Attach. I mean, they had Real, they had Fame. This team was doing it all. Now they got nobody. They got one
Nobody.
coach, I think, and that's it. And they got Joey Nubsy in the office.
Yeah, they got Looney.
They got Cash, and they're ready to sign Exceed, Assault, Joe Devious, and +1.
Okay. We
That'd be
are
hilarious.
saying they have cash. They literally just made us a round of layoffs today.
Yeah, but like
Literally,
bro,
like in the last
yo,
12 hours, they made a round of
I
layoffs.
totally agree with you. I do agree with you, but like at the same time, like it's a Minnesota Rocker, baby. They're just gonna make cash appear out of thin air. Their owners are literally
Wait,
billionaires. They just got
I
cash.
have a roster for you guys from Minnesota.
Okay,
Are you ready?
let's hear it.
Slasher,
All right.
Ghosty,
Mm,
Standy,
mm,
Nero.
mm.
Isn't that a roster that somebody like did Octane made that roster on his stream or something?
Octane did make their roster, yes.
I mean, that wouldn't be a bad roster. I think Minnesota
take Diddy.
Rocker, like Shio said, they didn't make a round of layoffs, so they might be a little bit low in the cash flow. But there is rumors that they could be merging with G2, which would be super interesting. That would definitely improve their cash flow, at least by the tiniest of margins, and would probably allow them to sign somebody like Slasher, maybe like Standy, maybe even Ghosty if you could. But hypothetically, if that roster or if that team merges with G2, gets a little bit more money in their pockets, if they can wait it out until that money comes in, they might be able to sign some solid free agents. And I think that this might be a sleeper team going into the next season. On the back foot, they did drop everybody, but they did say that they are open to restructuring those contracts and maybe signing those players back. And I think maybe you start with Attach, you kind of do that build around Attach strat again, and then sign 3 younger players. But I mean, the sky's the limit for Minnesota Rocker, minus the money, I would say.
Yeah, I generally do actually believe the money thing is not a problem for the record because one of the main reasons they wanted to partner with another org wasn't money based, but it was based around the fact of they wanted better opportunities in esports, like getting into things like League of Legends, getting into like more into things like Valorant and stuff like that, and spending real money to be like a top tier team and have a chance at the franchises. So they wanted to partner with a more known team so that they had those opportunities just like given to them automatically, basically. That was like what they were. That was like the rumors going around about it.
And I know the rumors were like for G2, but I really just don't see G2 getting back.
No,
in
I
the-
don't see
in the
G2
COD.
either.
I don't see G2 have any reason to go back into COD.
No.
They were in and they were out in like what, 6 months?
But they had
Maybe.
such a bad roster. They're just such
They were
bad
not here
roster
very
Well,
builders.
it's a
long.
brutal. It's if we're being honest, it's such a brutal scene to be in. I mean, I think the CDL is a perfect example of like how good and bad it can be. Like teams that have been around a long time came in and actually have had some decent success, or even people that have been around the scene know what's up, right? A lot of these teams that came in and just spent insane amount of cash. LAG is a perfect example of a team that just came in and spent an insane amount of cash and got literally nothing out of it except for hashtag bankruptcy. Gotta love it. I'm sorry.
Let me see who exactly G2 signed. So G2 came into Call of Duty. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not wrong, you guys can correct me. I'm pretty sure they entered in the beginning of the Black Ops 4 year. Shio, you think that's right, correct?
Let me look that up real quick. Actually, it was either Black Ops. It might have been Black Ops 3 actually.
No, okay. So their only placements in Call of Duty are in Black Ops 4. And they
Oh, you're right.
initially come in,
Yep.
they sign Blast,
Didn't
Ricky,
make the
Chino,
qualifier.
Decimate, Facento. And
then they finished 15th, 16th in the Pro League qualifier in 2019 and promptly exited the scene.
I mean, it's like if you sign that team and you're G2, it's like you see those names. These are all names that we recognize within the Call of Duty community. Like Blast, Ricky, Chino, Decimate, Facento. Everybody knows who those players are. But like, any, avid Call of Duty fan would probably tell you this roster might not work out. There's a good chance that they kind of flutter out like they did. But, if you're initially coming into Call of Duty and like you're trying to make a roster, you can't really knock them for signing a team like that. They're just really going they're going for the top there, and it doesn't seem they had enough kind of information to form a good roster. So maybe if they merge with the CDL team, they could come back in and start fresh realistically.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, definitely an option for them. I don't know. I don't know if it'll happen. I mean, I don't necessarily see a team like G2 merging with someone unless it's because that person they're merging with has cash. You know what I mean? Like they don't really need to for other reason, for any other reason than that, right? And
Yeah.
so like it'd be version 1 merging, right? Obviously, like the parent org.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Minnesota, the problem, like Minnesota Rocker as a whole, though, isn't it? Like version 1's not the only owner, right? Isn't it also owned by a few other like
It's owned by
insanely
like
wealthy
the
people?
Vikings ownership
Yeah,
group.
and those guys have like insane amount of cash. I mean, they just paid their stadium off 23 years early. Their NFL stadium.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like it was like hundreds of millions of dollars. Like it was insane. In fairness, they did it with the people's money, but I mean, I'll talk about that. You gotta do what you gotta do. But Minnesota is a team that I generally think is gonna make moves. It's just a matter of when they do, right? And who they base that around, because they literally have to build a roster from scratch. So the first thing they have to do is they probably have to go find somebody to build around that is going to be like a guaranteed player people want to play with that they can like keep around a while. I've been looking for that like franchise player, but I don't know. Like as much as there's a lot of free agents and stuff right now, like with the teams looking for players and the amount of money that those teams have and the amount of teams that have no cash at all, like Minnesota Rockers going to be in this weird like middle ground once again where they're like they probably just come out with like a T6 team again because guess what? Everybody just like bought everyone worth anything.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you could do something like New York where it's like you kind of find a superstar and just build around that, find a good system, but it's going to be hard. I say we move on because this is all speculative because there hasn't been really many rumors about Rocker just yet. I'm sure we'll get some soon, and maybe we can talk about that next podcast. But Boston Breach, they had a solid core. Not the best placement at champs. They had Kremp, Beans, Snoopy, and Awakening, obviously. So they insta drop Awakening since off-season starts. From the document, it says they re-signed Kremp and Beans, and presumably Snoopy is still signed under the Breach banner. So everybody's kind of assuming that they're looking for a veteran AR, kind of like we were talking about last week on the podcast. They're looking for a veteran AR to round out the lineup It seems as if all signs are pointing to Clayster joining this team and kind of leading the troops to victory. You guys think it's a good move, bad move? I mean, what's the thoughts
Oh,
here?
I think it's a great move.
I
They
just
get
want Clayster in
Clayster
the league, bro.
because
I
want
would
him in the
love to
league.
see it, honestly.
yeah,
I would love
Clayster
to
would
see
be
that
great.
one.
Sure, a lot of Boston fans would be pretty happy seeing Clayster under the Boston org.
I think the
Wearing
big
their
difference
jerseys.
though in this team from like last season is like they're generally like they're finally moving away from like that big wake thing. I'm not trying to diss big wake here. I just like obviously it wasn't working there, right? Like just like it wasn't working on Florida. Like he'll probably find a situation like whether he finds something like what Temp had on Vegas/Paris, where he's just like running that thing, you know. But I'm hopefully a little better than that though. Hopefully a spot where he can actually win. But you know what I mean, like that kind of ordeal. This whole
Mm-hmm.
situation with Boston, it seems like they have the opportunity and they have like decent backing when it comes to money. I don't think
Yeah.
they'll be throwing any super maxes out there by any means. They'll definitely be in the mix for people like an Insight and stuff like that. So I'd be curious to see if this team can make some moves. Obviously, like you just said, like the rumor of bringing in Clayster, like in theory, if they bring in Clayster, are they keeping Beans more than likely, or are they going to go get my boy Dan Ghosty? You know what I'm saying?
I think the two
Ghosty's on
players.
the
Oh, what were you gonna say,
table,
Shu?
I'm pretty sure. Like Ghosty, I'm pretty sure is on the table for Boston, and
Yeah.
Beans I think got extended. So like
Yeah,
both
but
are still technically available like options.
the thing with Beans is just because he got extended, we have no idea what his like contract is. Like he could very well just got extended for like 10 grand over minimum. Like he could be getting like $65,000, which realistically for a team like Boston with how much they run their academy team, that would basically just be like a guaranteed academy player. And they would
Yeah.
probably feel comfortable having him there. And they could easily bring in someone like a Ghosty or even like a Sib or Draza if somehow they were to fall to them. But you know what I mean?
I feel like somebody like Kremp is also a potential sub out as well. It seems as if, these guys are really locked in on Snoopy. They feel like they found like a diamond in the rough, which I definitely agree. He passes the eye test. He seems like a great player. Probably needs to get a little bit more of those intangibles, but so far so good. But if you could maybe, I mean, like Shio said, I think Dan Ghosty is on the table for Beans. I think if you could do Clay, Ghosty, Snoopy, and maybe one of those good SMGs that's on the market. You maybe buy out CleanX. You maybe find a way to sign Envoy. I mean, I feel like this is a sleeper
Standy.
squad to be very good.
I mean,
Standy even as well. I would do that.
I mean, you could go get like even like as much as people probably aren't talking about him much, like Capsule like generally played pretty good this
Capsule's
season.
gross.
He might be someone to go look at, especially for a Boston. They know him. Like the coaches and GM know him, right? Like might be someone to go look at. They're not going to bring back like a Vivid or Nero. I highly doubt they'll do
But
that.
imagine
But
not.
Joe Deceives is out there, right? I mean, there generally is options when it comes to sub AR, like everything. Like it feels like the first time in a while where like you could generally go get like anything and like have success. So
And the last thing I'll say about it, you guys can finish your thoughts about Boston Breach, but I think this might be one of those teams where you see when the next season starts, it's like they pick up the best challengers player at the beginning of the year and they may become like a very solid team. I mean, because you never know. That always happens in the CDL, the first challenger major happens and then everybody gets picked up. Shout out Decimate Gaming this time around from the Boston major. But this team, if it does end up being like Clay, Beans, Kremp, Snoopy, they're like one move away from being like a top 4 team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe make it happen before the season starts. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it happen after the season starts, but I have a good feeling about the Boston Breach going forward.
yeah, I mean, good feelings all around there, but I do believe. I mean, we could probably move on here, right? Anyone else got anything they want to say about Boston here? Shio, Dapper, got anything
No,
for us?
I mean,
We're gonna move on.
I think they have a lot of hope. Honestly, like
Yeah.
the
Oh, for
core,
sure.
like they have a good young core, and honestly, like they're in a pretty good shape compared to probably a lot of the league right now.
I mean, that's
one of the
until they
most
come into
important
the
things.
wall known as Atlantic Phase.
Okay.
Just
All
saying.
right.
Come on now. Come on now.
It's
Unnecessary.
game.
Unnecessary. But like I think one of the biggest things that Boston has going for it is like their GM and their coach both have been around for a very long time, and God, they know what's going to be able to like come in and like build a team, how to get this done. And this is going to be the first time where they really get to like actually build off of good players and kind of do whatever they want. Like they're going to have Snoopy. Like, yeah, you can say Kremp maybe is like still a very unknown variable, but at least it's like part of that subdue that's still going to be decent, right? Beans is like something as well. There's something to build off there around Snoopy for sure, right?
Absolutely.
Either way, Boston out of the way. We got the New York Subliners coming up with us next year. I mean, they've got Hydra, obviously. The Priesta, unknown. I mean, that one we're assuming is going to get extended, but there's a chance they're in the play for guys like that Draza, like a Sib, maybe a Scrappy if Toronto's willing to deal him out at some point in time. Skies is still on the team. Obviously, Wardy is gone. and Kismet just got re-signed. So the only player that's really a question mark is Priesta. And like legitimately, there's good options out there to replace Priesta. But like a few people have said, like Matty Ice, shout out Matty Ice, is like this team just won a world championship. Chances are they're just gonna stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see them changing.
There's
at
no
all.
reason to change for
Money.
these guys. Like they
That's
don't.
the only thing
There's
I can
no
think is
reason
money.
that they should change.
Unless
It
you're trying to
worked.
pack a punch word to Patty
Or
Price.
Hey,
if you really want to, secure back-to-back champs, there's two players you could pick up:
Oh.
Ook or Ghosty.
come on.
Because no, listen. No, listen. It's the optic curse.
No, right. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
I
I
like
actually
that.
do
I
think the
actually
Ghosty
like
one's
that.
a good shout. I do, but like over Priesta, I guess. But I don't know.
Rambo's an option too.
Hey, Rambo, right? I don't
I
know,
mean,
man.
hey, you gotta believe in the optic curse.
I'd feel so bad for Troy
Still
Center
alive.
Rivals, dude.
It's still alive. Shout out Troy,
Still
the
alive.
GOAT. But yeah, I'm not sure there's much to talk about with the New York subliners. I mean, you
Oh,
would
yeah.
assume that they extend. I mean, if Priesta doesn't get re-signed, I mean, there would be an uproar, no doubt about it. But I think it would be interesting. I think for now, you have to be under the assumption that it's not going to happen. It seems like they got a nice core over there. It seems like maybe they're trying to restructure a contract. Maybe Priesta deserves more money. Maybe he's saying, hey, New York, I mean, we just want a chip. Like, hey, give me like an extra 50 bomb per year. But who knows? Yeah, I feel like we can move on to Florida Mutineers, and I feel like most people are under the assumption that this team is turning into the Miami Heretics.
Yeah, the real question is, I mean, obviously we have a pretty good idea what that team is going to be. The real question is if that does come to like full fruition. Like obviously, I mean, we got it pulled up right here, right now. Shout out Matty Ice, but that's going to be like the Vickle, Journey, Metals, Eric Boom, and Lucky, which is like that all Spanish roster, right? They want to bring
it's
in
3 out of 5 of the Vamos Heretics roster from
the
BO4 at least.
shout out the
out.
boys.
At least 3. I'm trying to remember if there's
This
more. I don't
team,
recognize the others though.
this team is definitely like one of those squads you would fully expect to come into the league and be like in 8 to 6 range as far as like how good they would be. You would not expect them to be like a top tier team, but I tell you what, every single time they play is going to be fun. It doesn't
Oh, it
matter
is.
if they're getting destroyed or they're destroying. Dude, that chat is just going to be Vamos up the wazoo, bro. It's going to be
Yeah.
insane.
Give me my Vamos, indeed. I'm gonna be completely honest here. I am not the biggest fan with the direction they took this roster, and I'm not a good big fan of the Spanish roster, but I think there's better players that they could have picked up. It's a fantastic pool of challengers players, and you got to think, Vickle, he kind of had a tough run at in Florida this season. Probably like it seemed like Brack and Capsital were kind of the all-star players on that team near the end of the year. Vickle was kind of doing his thing, being that ratty player that he needs to be. But Journey Metal's lucky; they're all getting a little bit older in the Call of Duty sphere, so it's going to be kind of tough for them to maybe get back into things. Eric Boom, I think that's a good pickup, but I personally have a tough time thinking that this team is going to be a contender. But hey, I mean, you really never know. Maybe they pulled a rabbit out of the hat, they make it happen. But I think there was some more directions you could have gone if you were Miami Heretics GM.
I genuinely believe this team, the reason they're building this roster the way they are is they're building based around franchising. They're building around the fact that you need to build a fan base to be able to make money off of it to then build a good roster in the future. And maybe
Maybe.
they're planning on maybe investing into the Spanish scene as well to get those like younger players that are like a little bit more unknown, like out there in the EU scene. But I guarantee you this team was built specifically out of the fact that they can market this to the Spanish audience and bring in like big viewers and big sponsorship cash if they want to. Like real talk, like that is 100%. Like I see this team. I don't see this as a team where they were building it like, oh, well, we expect to be able to win a championship. This was built specifically so they can be like, look, Heretics is back, baby, and we got the Spanish team you always wanted. Like this, 100% what this is based around.
I mean, I just don't know why you don't sign Real. Like that guy has not gotten
True.
a shot, and everybody knows
I
that
mean,
he's gross.
I mean, that's technically a possibility, right? Because technically this is
I
like a
guess so.
rumored roster. There is still a chance that that's someone they're looking for. It also could be like realistically looking at this roster, they're not looking at spending a lot of cash. Like just
Yeah.
the players they have here, like they're not going to be. It's basically going to be the same Florida we've had before, which is like most of these guys are going to be close to minimum, maybe a little bit more than that, outside of like what Vickle and then maybe Eric Boom will be more. But like for the most part,
Maybe,
like
yeah.
it's really they're not spending much money. So maybe Real like either wanted more or they just were like straight up like, nah, we're good. Like I don't know. Not that he's like necessarily worth a lot more, but still, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you go and look at Vickel's Codpedia page, you can see that him and Eric Boom have been playing Call of Duty together since 2017, and Vickel is. Let me see how old he is because I'm pretty sure he's 20 years old. So 2017 -6. They've been playing together since they were 14 years old. Like maybe there's some built-in chem. Maybe I'm fugazing it right now. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it is the right play. You never know.
I mean, this team's just straight up. This team's not going to win a championship. Like I'll
Okay,
say that now in
he said it.
confidence, but like you never know. It could happen. I doubt they'll even like win a major or get close to winning a major. This is going to be like the Florida we've always seen, right? This is going to be a team that in a week out could very easily just like beat one of the best teams in the world, and then the next week lose to the absolute worst team in the world and get destroyed. Like it can happen. It is what it is.
That's just the way it goes. All right, next up,
I do
I
have to give
say,
him credit, I think, for building a Spanish roster and like going with that,
No,
because that's like,
yeah.
oh, we're all like, everyone's just happy to see the Heretics back involved, right?
that's
So it's
true.
like you
I
want
am
to
happy.
capitalize on the fact that you're just saying Heretics is back. Is basically what C&K said, right? It's like Heretics is back. We're here to be a Spanish representation, and we're gonna go like all in on that regard. And like maybe they shit the bed this year. We don't know, but you're gonna have that base built up, and enough people will pay attention that you're gonna be like happy enough with that.
Yeah.
And then
I
you go
think
from there. You can worry
I
about it
think
later, I guess.
this is going to be insanely good for the league regardless because it is actually going to bring in a lot more viewers because Heretics is going to do a great job marketing this to their fan base and like their region, which is like Spain. So like
Yeah.
this is going to be good for the CDL in the long run. So regardless if this roster is good or not, like it's only really a benefit for being in the league.
Absolutely, I definitely agree with that. It will be a good thing, no doubt about it. And I am excited to type "Take My Vamos" in chat because that's
Yeah,
something I
dude.
very much so
I've same.
missed from 4 years ago because that was some banger content.
It's just so much fun. Like it's fun to just be in on it. But be a good time. But I mean, shout out like Florida/Heretics. Like we have realistically no idea if that roster is gonna fully come in. We do actually, like for the most part, that's like guaranteed. But like you never know, things could change. But moving on to Vegas Legion. Now this is a team right here that will probably be the last team put together. Oh, possibly the second to last team put together in free agency here because. You're probably going to have a battle between them and the London Royal Ravens and maybe LAG and Seattle of who can build the biggest
Top 12 team.
not top 12 team. I want to say can build the best no cash team. Who can have all four players on a minimum deal, but yet maybe get T8, you know?
I think Vegas kind of have the upper hand here when it comes to like the battle between them and London, just because everybody kind of loves Vegas now, just because of like all of their struggles from the past. I'm sure, if Don doesn't get an offer from another squad, like I'm sure Vegas is down to re-sign Temp, and you can very easily build around him. Maybe you keep Standy. I mean, I don't know, but I feel like there's a lot of free agents out there right now, so you kind of have a big a big bundle of players to pick from to kind of make a solid squad. I've seen some rumored rosters, but I mean, they're all just super rumored and super speculative.
Yeah.
But I think, players are probably more privy to signing to Vegas than they have in the past.
Yeah, I'm for sure. I mean, especially with the whole standing thing, I think that helped a lot. But also, like, you got to think someone like Temp probably might just end up back on this team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, realistically, like, I've kind of been thinking about like where Temp's gonna go, and I feel like, unfortunately, even though he's been playing well, I feel like because he's been on this team for so long, I feel like it has lowered his stock a lot. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, pro players have their own opinions on people, but it's just so difficult right now because there's so many good ARs out there, and the teams that need a good AR are going to be locked up very quickly. Like as soon as I mean, literally on July 3rd, we're probably going to figure out a couple, not like the full teams, but like where some of these good ARs are going to go, and then you're going to see teams trying to swallow up like what's left. So,
I mean, you
and
gotta
shout out God RX probably going to get a spot.
figure like the top ARs that are free agents right now. They're the first teams that they're gonna look at are gonna be Atlanta and Optic. Because I mean,
Yeah,
if you're trying to sign for a team, you want to sign of a championship caliber team.
but not everyone has that opportunity. That's the thing. Like, because there's a couple teams here that need ERs. Because, like, realistically speaking, like New York, as much as we want to sit here and be like they just won a world championship, there's no way they're making a move. That is a team that if they can go get someone like Adraza or like just someone who's like actually an insane flex, like god tier flex, like they might actually do it. Like this is a team that we do know potentially actually does have money issues, so they might be looking to downgrade or to like get Priest at a cheaper price. But they also could like not have money issues anymore because this is a team that has a lot of investment. It's just a matter if they actually want to invest or not. Like the owners of this team have money. It's just a matter of if, will they invest that money. They have an expensive roster. Well, they kind of don't. They have one expensive player for the most part. So I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like if you're
It's
Vegas, I feel if you're Vegas, you gotta go for broke. You gotta go for Gwyn in this offseason. That man is a dog, and somebody's gonna pick him up. And I think if you're Gwyn, Vegas Legion would not be a bad place to start. Even though obviously
Oh,
it's
for sure.
Vegas, obviously it's memes, but if you could just get a little bit of like fanship behind you, like it might be a good start to a solid career. And I think Vegas actually, like if I'm looking at the rosters, or like I guess the rosters that don't exist right now because nobody has teams, but like if you're looking at Minnesota, Seattle, London, Florida, Vegas, like and LAG, Vegas could very well come out of this offseason being like a top 6 team, just granted because nobody else has players currently that are
Yeah.
at least like very solid.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be such a weird like just trying to figure out this like Vegas, like Seattle, London, like LAG, like whole thing is gonna be interesting. Like, I mean, speaking of LAG, by the way, that's our next team. Just saying,
Let's get
but
into it.
I mean, shout out LAG. Can I just say Spark might be the smartest player in the entire league because this dude definitely got some true guarantees in that contract to get re-signed after doing like basically nothing this season. I have no idea. Maybe they have him signed for like as low gets. Like maybe they have got the league minimum from last season and the league is letting him like carry that over. They don't have to increase the $3,000. So maybe they're just keeping him on that. Or maybe this guy's getting 100K a year and he just has like the best agent, or maybe he's his own agent and they just got it figured out. But this guy's a dog. And I mean, Arcides and Spark, I mean, at the end of the day, at least you've got someone you can like start to build around with Arcides, right? Like, obviously his stock has lowered significantly over this last year of like how poorly he played and stuff. But like, I think a lot of players will still look at him as like, oh, this is like he's a good player. They could probably build something here. It's just like LAG is a team that we know for a fact they're technically speaking, the owner of this team that is still the owner of this team is one of, if not the richest owner in the CDL. The
Yeah.
problem is they very clearly do not want to be in esports anymore. And they very clearly do not want to spend money anymore. And so we might get literally nothing here.
I mean, I feel like, maybe from what I saw, I'm all speculative. I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but like, I feel like, Stan Kroenke, he probably looks at the rest of the CDL and he's like, bro, these guys are spending nothing. Like, these guys are spending nothing on anything, and they're as good as we are. Like, why don't we just spend nothing? We can just exist until like maybe the esports stock grows a little bit. And I'm assuming that's what LAG is doing because it doesn't seem like they're just because obviously the guard still exists. They have their Val team, they still have their Call of Duty team. They can still exist in the esports atmosphere and just not spend money, and they'll still, have a spot nonetheless. So, I mean, maybe it's just one of those things. They're like, we're cutting all costs except for the cost we have to spend, which is obviously, as of now, our season Spark costs you have to spend. Word on the street. I'm curious what Shio thinks about this because I have my own thoughts, but I want to know based on his first impression. Word on the street is that LAG right now are a team of 2. Arcides and Illy looking for 2 SMGs. Shio, do you have any first thoughts about that information?
Ooh. Honestly, Illy would be a nice pickup, but it's like, I guess my concern is that would he go for the type of contract LAG is probably offering, right? Because you're looking at LAG is just like, I mean, that's also assuming the team is still going to exist, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, the rumors that like halfway through the season when the guard went bottoms up was that LAG was going to like cease existing basically at the end of the year, right? So I mean, we haven't heard anything about it. Assuming LAG is still in, I mean, you're probably looking at players that are going to pull up out of challengers, right? Like look at players that you can't even look at the top end of challengers either, right? Because a lot of the top end challengers probably going to get sought out by other teams. You look at like London, you look at maybe Seattle, I don't know, based on the rumors that are coming through, maybe Minnesota. So you don't want to have to fight for these players. So you're looking at like a top 8 challengers player, I guess. But you also got to look at, is RCD's going to be willing to play with any of those guys? Probably not.
I mean,
he might not really get a choice, but
after this season.
It's
Matty Eyes,
it's
can
just
you
not
pull up the
looking
Challengers
great.
players tab real quick?
I don't think
Also,
it's looking great for their options.
with Illy's
see.
contract, I don't think he can be too picky about his contract. The man took pretty much a whole entire year off after he got dropped. He dropped off the
Wait,
face of
are you
Twitter.
talking about Illy?
Wasn't playing COD. Yeah,
I don't think Illy's coming back for the minimum, regardless. I don't necessarily think he's going to be like picky because I just think he's going to be trying to sign like a true 1 year deal. That's all,
Yeah,
which isn't necessarily
I
possible,
don't
but
think
like,
like the rumors there. I just don't think he goes to LAG because LAG is just not going to
oh
offer
man.
the amount that he's looking for, right?
The
He
thing with
still
LAG
believes in
though that we
himself.
do have to look at though, there is a real like world where after all of this like breakdown that's happened financially for the guard and everything, and for like that whole like esports branch of like Gronky Sports, there's a good chance that like LAG legitimately like gets to stay in the realm of Gronky Sports and they actually do invest into it. Like that is actually a possibility. Yeah, it doesn't seem very high right now, but that is a real thing that can happen. Like those guys got money. Like Gronky's got money and his wife's got money. And
For sure.
she's literally one of the owners of Walmart.
Yeah. I think if
History.
you're LAG, I think for now, I think you have to be under the impression that Illy's going to sign with them. I just think mostly because it's like if you're Illy, at least you can be on LAG, at least you can live in LA, and you know that's a very cemented spot. It's like because you
Yeah.
know there a lot of people aren't going to give Illy you know rosters after the whole last season and the season before, like the whole thumb shenanigans. So like you really never know. I think if you're LAG, you bring in Illy, you bring back Joe Deceives, and then I don't know, maybe you bring back Neptune because Neptune was cooking in challengers last
Oh,
season, but
dude.
you just got to find a really good SMG to pair with
You
Joe,
need
and
a
I think that
pair. You
SMG
need a
duo
pair
can be
there.
solid.
I just think the thing with Illy is like legitimately because of the way esports is, like it's gonna be like a 2 year battle of like getting back to like an actual good roster. Like
Yeah.
it's gonna be the first year is gonna be proving you're still good, and the second year is gonna be proving you're good and like 2 full years of not being hurt whatsoever. And then people are gonna be like, oh yeah, sure, like come play with us. You know what I mean? Like it it's gonna suck for him because like the reason he went out for like a couple of times like last year and then obviously like this year's all like a whole different story, but still like we realistically have no idea if this guy's thumb is good or not, and like that's gonna
Yep.
affect him for the rest of his career. And there's a chance here that it's fine, it's completely healed, and he'll never have issues again. There's also a chance that he's gonna have a problem with it every single season, and it's gonna be like try to cover it up, try to cover it up. Oh, it's a problem, can't play, and then his
And
career
you got
will
to call
literally
up
just be
Spark.
over. Yeah, but then his
And
career
then you bring
if
in
that
Spark.
the thing is, if that happens, if he gets out, if he goes out this year due to injury with his thumb, he's done. Like with the way
Yeah.
esports works, he'll literally just be done.
No, he's absolutely done.
Yeah.
I mean, I think with that whole thumb injury is like Gother told me this because he's a nurse. He's like with that sort of
Okay.
like thumb thing, like the hand stuff. It's like your thumb can feel like fully fine for like months and months and months, but like with the way that gaming goes, it's like you're playing scrims every day, 8 hours a
Mhm.
day. You know, 1 day off a week. It's like all it takes is like trying to snap like a little too hard. Your thumb you know busts again, and then it's the same thing. You're just at ground zero one more time. So like
Yeah.
Ilya is definitely a risk. You got to hope that his thumb is fixed because obviously he's a fantastic player, but it definitely is a risk, no doubt about it, because you never know when that thumb thing's gonna flare up again, or if it you know if it did this season, because there was rumors that it did this season as well, but like
Great.
you really can't know. It's a dangerous game with those sort of injuries, especially as a pro gamer.
I mean, the one of the only things we really have to look at it based off of is Zuma, because according to like like Zuma and a couple other people, it's the exact same injury. Like we heard about
Hmm.
that from the optic camp as well. Like it's quite literally the exact same thing. Doctors like diagnosed it the same, treated it the same. Obviously, two completely different people, right? It could heal
Yep.
differently. It could act differently over time. That's how it is. Like everyone's different, but there's a good chance here that like unfortunately, Illy like I love Illy. Like he was fun on optic. I do like Illy a lot, but like there's a good chance the guy could be done, which sucks because like you hate to see it in any sport, and it kind of sucks that it's now like actually like coming to esports. But like with the whole new like just the way things are now, where you have to actually practice like 6 hours a day. You're doing your film, you're doing everything. Like you're actually like training like a real like athlete now for the most part, like in and outside of the game. Like we're gonna be seeing stuff like this, especially like I mean, look how shots he plays, bro. Like people are gonna be cracked out of their mind for the next couple of years with movement and stuff like that. Like it's gonna take its toll.
Yep, agreed. I say we move on because we are kind of going over the time limit of what we are
Next one
used to
should be
here. We
quick.
got Seattle Surge, I agree with you, CNK. There's not much to talk about here. They
Yeah,
dropped
I-
everybody
No.
except for
Hey,
Mac.
I mean,
well, they
shout out
still don't have
Seattle.
anybody.
Literally dropped everybody. It sounds like they're also like their coach Sam Phoenix is also moving on. Whether that's his decision or a team decision, we still don't know. But it sounds like that is happening. So like they're doing a full on like reset. A lot of people were saying it was a money thing, but like if it was a money thing, you would think they would have sold Pred in the midseason to Optic for like insane cash and just use that money to run their team for a year or two. But who knows? Obviously, we have no idea with this team. There hasn't been too many rumors about it either because it's like it. If it's a money problem, like we're not going to hear anything about this roster, just like what we've heard about with like London and like Vegas. Like no cash means no team, right? I mean, they'll figure out something at some point in time. The ownership of this team has a ton of money, like billions of dollars, but they're also known as people that don't like to spend money, even on their actual sports franchises. So there's a good chance here that they just like don't do anything. So yeah,
You
it's
got to
a
do what you
just
can,
hurry up
though.
and wait, just like everything else. Hurry up and wait.
It's really hard to talk about these last three empty teams like Seattle, LA Thieves, and London, because there really has been no rumors surrounding them at all. Like all we know with LA Thieves is just yeah, they squad wide Octane
Thieves is
retired,
gonna have a good team. I think we know that.
They are.
Like
and
we know we
apparently
don't know
they
much about some of these teams, but Thieves, like we know, like regardless if we know that what they're doing or not, like we know they're gonna have a good team. Like that team is not gonna settle for a bad team.
I know some of the tweets I've seen is they're trying to keep Kenny
Yeah, but
while everyone
I
else
mean, we'll
just kind
see.
of walked. Like Envoy's going. Envoy's apparently going rumored to Toronto. Some people want him at Optic. The Optic rumors I've seen are from Optic fans like, oh man, we gotta get Envoy back, or like the Toronto rumors are like actual rumors. Like Toronto's looking towards Envoy right now, and Octane. That man just kind of up and retired, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did.
hey dude, shout out Octane by the way. That guy did
Shout
it
out
for a
Octane.
long
Dude, it
time,
was
dude.
so funny.
Dude, good
I was
memories, man.
I was watching his stream after he announced his retirement. He's like he was talking about the team and whatnot. He's like, I just had to move back home, like LA, man. I hated LA. I was like,
L
good
take.
lord.
Shout out Jake.
As in-
Oh man.
What do you
I
think of
mean,
that one, Jake?
I do agree though. I'm just kidding.
Bozo vibes.
He
LA's
said,
sick.
yeah, see, Snoop knows the facts. He said they settled for 17 bad teams in Cold War. Yes, they had
Yeah.
practically a new team every single day. It was actually insane.
What dude, shout out Venom, man. That guy career was short, but man, it was fun. It was fun.
Shout out Draza too.
He had
Really
one good
paved the
map.
way for some easy wins.
Yeah, the OG. Yeah. Like Matty I says, OGLA. They come back. Remember when they first came up and we're just like, who knows this guy Draza? That's just hazard backwards.
Yeah,
What kind of
Hazard
name is
backwards.
that?
I said, this
Shout
guy's
out
stealing my
Draza, though.
flow.
The fact that someone actually made it out of that whole thing and like became like an actual demon is like that's big shout. Like shout out to Draza for getting that done. Guy gets a lot of hate, but the one thing we can never deny with Draza is that he's insanely talented.
dude,
Like,
man flipped the switch. I mean,
dude,
he was subbing to LAT in Cold War. Kind of buns, not gonna lie. Dude went into Vanguard and was like, hold on, let me win a chip real quick.
yeah.
And went
He
into
sure did it.
takeover mode. Yeah.
I mean, a big thing we can say about Thieves though, like before we just like move on, is like this team is legitimately going to be in talks for every good player. They're going to be in talks for Pred. They're going to be in talks, obviously for Draza, like their own guy. They're going to be in talks for Envoy probably, unless they're like out on them, like out. I doubt it, but like this is going to be a team. Like, don't be surprised if Toronto Ultra like out of nowhere go like, oh, we don't want Scrap anymore. Like we want to sell them. Like this is going to be a team that's in on the bidding war for him for sure. Like they've got money and they're willing to like spend it to have a very good COD roster because I mean, let's face it, their owner and one of the owners, I guess, and CEO Nadeshot, like loves COD and he wants to have a winning roster. Like that's all he cares. All he cares about is winning. And this is like the one esport where he can like actually like get in there and like, like guarantee a good roster for his like team. So I doubt they'll have anything bad.
Yeah, I think LAT, like word on the street is, maybe they pick up those Insight and Kleenex deals, they buy them out. They were looking at maybe getting Pred. I'd say LAT is like probably the hot spot for Pred right now. If you're, going off what the community knows, like I feel like Insight, Kenny, Kleenex, and Pred would be an absolutely fantastic squad. That'd be one of those super teams that everybody's talking about. But otherwise, no big rumors just yet, just kind of all speculation. The one Optic Texas, the next team, probably one of the few teams that there has been big leaked rumors about.
Are
Obviously,
these real rumors or is it just fans?
no,
Fans.
these were real. No,
Higher number.
well,
Of
the
people
LAT
talking
rumors
about it
were
as
fan rumors for sure, but I think the Optic Texas rumors were actual rumors, no doubt about it.
I
Yeah,
feel like
optic for
feel
sure.
like,
Those are legit, like 100%. They have to be.
yeah, I feel like the
Like,
Optic Pred rumors are fan rumors, but they're like
I don't know,
I
man.
guess like the Envoy draws and stuff like were actual rumors. I think all the Optic fans are still hooked on like really wanting to get Pred because I mean, Pred is just that guy.
The real
He
question I
sure
have
is.
with like optic now is like, who's their like technical GM right now?
Dashy.
Oh,
Well, no,
Yeah.
but like legitimately, like, is it like actually like the players, or is like Hex standing back into that role? Is JP doing it? Like,
It's probably a mix. I'm sure
yeah,
they're just
like
letting like Dashy, Shotzi, JP, and Karma kind of do what they want to do, and
shout out Karma.
they
Forgot
could
about
kind of
Karma.
all
Yeah.
get on the same wavelength and pick up somebody good. I mean, if they go through with the rumor and they pick up Draza and Envoy, I do not think that would be a bad team by any means. That would be a very solid roster, and I'm sure it would. I think, in my opinion, it would be an upgrade from last year, even though they did pretty good this year in MW2. Obviously, fluttered out near the end, but 2 second place finishes and a 4th at Boston was not bad by any means. But I think if you have a chance to bring back Envoy and bring in Draws, I don't think anybody would be upset about that.
Bring back Scumpy. Imagine.
Yeah.
Be hilarious.
Scompe.
I mean,
He just
this is
drops
a
out of
team.
retirement. It's like, all right,
This is a
no,
team
no
that
one
like
else will
they'll
do
be
it, so
cute.
I'm doing this.
That'd be
Mhm.
awesome. But this is a team that's going to be in on a lot of players. Like, they're going to be looking at all their options, whether that be like guys like Draza, Sib, like you name it. They're gonna look at everything. They're gonna look at all the SMGs as well. Like, what is like the cost effectiveness of getting someone like Pred? They're gonna look at people like Standy. They're just gonna look around. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Who they end up with, I mean, we'll find out when we find out. I'm sure Optic rosters tend to leak well before they get signed. So, I mean, we'll definitely know before Optic knows. You know how it goes. How it always be. Shout out Parasite for leaking Dan Ghosty. Rumors. We don't know for sure if he did that or not, but chances are. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, that's probably. I mean, Optic. We know they're gonna build like a good team. Like, they have a good base, right? Obviously, Dashy and Shotzi. Like, you have one of the best ARs and like one of the best subs. Like, you're building around 2 top tier players, so you're gonna have a decent chance at a good roster. But moving on to the next team, which is another top team looking to build a roster here, the London Royal Ravens moving over to the Americas. No longer want to be EU chumps, dude. Want to be in London
Bruh.
anymore. Want to move on over to where their money's at. They want the bank to be close by. So right now, rumors are looking a little slow for London.
Bro,
Looking
they
a
got to
little
be
slow.
paying out players' visas, bro. They got to bring in Harry, bring in Gizmo, and just keep nasty and just get another person, bro. Like, we could literally skip the London Royal Ravens if we wanted to. They are all over the place, and it's I think as of now, the London Royal Ravens are probably the least capable CDL team currently of maybe like creating a solid roster. Like I said, unless they pay those visas, which I think they should do. I mean, realistically, one of these teams has to sign a Booza, and we haven't even talked about him yet. Maybe London could do it. I mean, that'd be great for them. They need somebody, no doubt about it. But I mean, London, they're in shambles.
I just think London, though, switching over to being an NA team, like, there's no chance they're going to start doing the visas and bringing more EU players over. I just think they're
They
going to
should,
chalk it
though.
up, bro. I agree they should,
This
but
is
they're probably just going
EU
to chalk it up.
challengers just going down right now.
The
Just
thing
going
is,
down in
like,
flames.
the thing that sucks the most is like with Heretics now being in and like doing a Spanish roster, but specifically only Spanish players is awesome. It's great for the EU scene at the end of the day, but it's also bad for the EU scene. Because a team like London is also probably like looking to just sign cheap players and they're looking to exist in the franchise system until they figure out whether it's
Yeah.
doable. You know what I mean? Like, there's a couple teams here, like Seattle is probably one of them. Vegas is obviously one of them. Like, they're going to be looking to see if the franchise league is something that's like, if it's actually something. Like, is there potential to make money off of this in the future or not? LAG is technically one of those teams now, unless they sell, which I mean, I doubt it's going to happen with the way esports is, the condition it's in right now. But it's tough to say right now. Everything's kind of messed up.
Yeah, it's fugazi. I don't know what London's gonna do. I agree with
No.
CNK. I agree with Shio. EU COD going down in flames right now. There's
Yeah.
so much good EU talent in the league or outside of the league that just has not been utilized yet. And it sucks that we're probably not going to be able to see them on display for at least a little bit unless they come to Major 1 or Major 2 in MW3 or whatever it's called, and they absolutely slam people. But that happened in this year with Team Notorious, and they still didn't get picked up. So, yeah, I don't like that personally because I think the EU talent is fantastic.
They deserve a chance. They just deserve a chance. And
Absolutely.
it sucks they're not getting it, but I mean, shout out Owl Bobs for apparently they paid for Abuza's like visa, so that should be done soon. So he'll be able to get on a team a lot easier with that.
Yeah, shout out
Probably
to
gonna get on
Woba.
a team regardless. So
He needs to.
those guys
Kinda
are some
sucks
legends
'cause
over
the
there.
whole visa process just screws over like so many people, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
look at
Yeah.
I mean, you look at every time there's an event in the US, like I think Siege suffers from this specifically, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we have a US event in like 2 months. And all the teams are like, well, we can't get a visa done in that time frame, so we're screwed. And then they're screwed, and then you gotta substitute like a random North American team in, or like all the North American players become like super subs basically because well, your super capability is that you can play in the country, right? I mean, you have this issue playing in the Toronto event before. Who was it? Like, was it Zed or Denza? One of the Boston. GM or
Somebody
whatever.
big couldn't make it.
Couldn't enter the country, right? So,
I think it was
and then
Furious Klaus.
yeah, and then we had and then Halo had it recently. I think Barcode got turned back at the border in Canada. Couldn't enter
Yeah.
the states.
I mean,
and native
well,
white
remember
players
it's
what was it
not
last
only
season? Royal
Barcode.
2 for the first like what was it 2 events or whatever? Royal 2 couldn't play.
No, he was banned. He was banned.
Oh, he was
Yeah, he got
banned.
banned.
Cool.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
this
that's
season.
right. Oh, shout out Royal 2 for getting banned.
No,
I
no,
forgot
it's
about
not.
that.
It's not Royal 2. It's Router 2. But,
Yeah,
it is
that's
Router 2.
right.
Yeah. So with the Halo thing
Got
that's
it,
going
got
on
it.
right now, so the Halo schedule is really weird. To give a little backstory for those who don't keep up with the HCS, so
Oh, jeez.
they started out the season with a LAN event. They had a 2-month break. They had another LAN event. 3 weeks later, another LAN event, and now they're about to go for like another 2.5-month break, where they have their last major before champs. And the major that was 3 weeks ago, Barcode couldn't get into the country. 3 weeks later, he's still having the same problem. So the team is having to use another sub. 3 weeks
They got
later,
kicked out
second
of
major
pool
in a row.
play, didn't they?
Now, no, they're still in it. There's still
No,
one more
they're
day
still
of
in
pool
pool?
play. And then there's another player for I can't remember which team, but he couldn't get into the country. So another top team is having to run for substitute.
And then there was
And
a
I
T16
think
team where their teammate got banned.
well, okay, so there's
Oh,
three
that was a
teams
little
right now.
different.
Yeah,
There's
he's
three.
cheating.
Yeah, there's 3 teams right now running with a substitute due to visa.
Yeah, I
So
mean, hey,
there's
it is what it is, man.
it's a
Visas,
pretty
Getting
baby.
back to the root thing,
Shout out
visas
the
suck.
shout out the
Visas do
United
suck.
States, dude. They made it way harder to get visas for like literally everything. If you're not a like, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
impossible. So
So just shout out the U.S. border security for being
dude.
the single most devastating impact there could ever be to European Call of Duty.
dude, hey, shout out European Call of Duty, but man, those boots they gonna keep walking.
Yeah.
Them boys know what's up, I guess. No, not really. I don't know. I don't. It's kind of crazy what they've done. A lot of new laws and stuff. Obviously, like over the last like 3 or 4 years, have made things a lot more difficult visa wise. Especially like they went through and they kind of like made things way more specific for visas as well. So that made things
Right.
more difficult. So harder for the boys, but I'm sure the CDL can get in there and get it done. Right? Just gotta
Maybe.
ask Microsoft to help out.
Yeah. Well, we got one more team to talk about, and I say we get into it because we're going on past an hour of podcast and don't want to hold everybody too long. I mean, Shio was a sub tonight, so shout out Shio for pulling up. But we got the Toronto Ultra, and, you know, I wanted to move on a little quickly because, boys, there's a lot to talk about with this team now, isn't there? Good grief.
Man.
Second at champs, guys. Don't forget that. I mean, that was only like 3
Second at
weeks ago.
champs.
They might have got 05, but they said, nah, we're dropping the whole squad.
The boys saw 05 and they said, chalk it. I'm over it. Don't want it. No, thank you. And they dropped everybody. They said, no, thank you. Well, they didn't drop him. They dropped Hixie. They said, you know what? You're the cheapest guy on the team. Get out of here.
You're gone.
We can't afford you. You're too cheap.
Yeah, so Hixie's gone. Scrappy's staying. Inside and Kleenex, they never released them yet. They said they're exploring their options to sell them, but they can still retract on that decision.
Yeah. That would be very difficult.
No, not good for the vibes.
The thing is this: Toronto has definitely lowered their stock in the pro scene by doing this, for
Yep.
sure. Like players are definitely not going to want to play for them if they have other opportunities on like good teams and stuff. This kind of screws Scrappy out of good teammates if the goal was sell these two, get good players. I think Toronto, I think we can all agree on this because we know how bad their financials are right now because they're literally public. This is strictly a money move. And I think everybody in the communities in this like agrees on the same thing. Like, why would you not keep Kleenex and Insight and then get rid of Scrappy? Personally, I talked with you about this earlier, Jake. I just think the reason they want to keep Scrappy is because no matter what, it just keeps them in the combo. Even if they're a good team or not, like it keeps them in the combo.
Dude, well, I mean, in my rebuttal in that discussion was like, okay, bro, Scrappy's one guy. You could sell Scrappy for more than you can
Way
sell
more.
Kleenex and Insight combined. You could
Probably way
sell
more.
Scrap for 10 minimum contracts, I would say, at least. You know, you could probably sell Scrappy for 600K. That's 10 minimum contracts for however long you want to go.
You got to think at least half that, right? At a minimum, half that is what you can sell.
If you could sell Scrap, you could sign 2 all-star players and still have some extra to spare, I would say. It's like, why don't you just do that?
You could sell Scrap and then get Envoy and Draza.
Literally. I agree.
And then just have Kleenex, Envoy, Draza, Insight. Like that'd be a good team. Like that'd be a fun team to watch.
It'd be a great team. That'd be
and then
a
Scrappy would just go have fun on Optic or wherever, New York. Hey, FaZe? Have fun on FaZe,
Somewhere.
Scrappy.
Probably LAT.
I would not mind Scrappy.
You imagine LA Thieves somehow ends Rostermania with Pred and Scrappy.
That would be a fun
hilarious.
one. Shot would be dancing in the corner.
He'd just be like, he was the plan the whole time.
I just know Matt is sitting at his desk right now just cheesing hearing that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Dude, the thing is this, just because we've heard about Kleenex and Insight for being for sale, like there's a good chance Scrappy is also for sale and just it hasn't been like public yet. They're privately talking to teams about it. Like there's a good chance of that. Like if they actually are like planning on spending significantly less money, gotta think Scrappy's gonna go as well. And that just hasn't been publicly released. They just want everybody to know their stance on Kleenex and Insight, which is like unfortunate. Shout out those two for just getting thrown under the bus. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if offers are going for Scrappy, regardless of it not being like public.
I mean, what's interesting as well is, you know, something kind of similar to this happened earlier in the year with Pred to Optic. It was like, okay, Seattle, you could either sell Pred right now for like $750,000 and be good money-wise for a while, or you could just try to keep the team together and hope to win a major. Obviously, that didn't happen, and now you got to wonder, maybe Seattle regret not selling Pred just a little bit, just to maybe help the financials. You might have the same situation here at the Toronto Ultra. It's like, okay, we could either chalk our stock, or we could keep our 2 veteran players and sell Scrap right now and still be a very solid squad. I think you are faded if you work for Toronto and you're not at least thinking about selling Scrappy. Because I think if you sell Kleenex and Insight, you're worse off than if you sell Scrap.
Yeah, for sure.
Wasn't there was the rumor or something that it was like they sell Scrap to, what was it, Optic? Use that money to sign Draza and who else was it? I'm trying to
Well, they
remember
want
who else
Envoy.
was in the rumor.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was like Envoy and Draza.
Well,
You
that was-
signed with that money that you just got from selling Scrap, and then Optic gets Scrap, and I forgot what else.
Probably Pred.
There was like
in
a
that
whole
situation.
three-way thing that was going
just
around
go all
related
in.
to that, and I was like, I don't hate the idea.
Not for Toronto, for sure.
If Scrappy went to Optic, I would be so upset.
It'd be a good team
Because
for him. But I just think he doesn't want to though.
We would never hear the end of it from Optic fans in the entire season.
Thank God.
Bro, like anyone hears the
that
end of it
would-
from FaZe fans, bro. Like what?
I mean, we got to do a podcast with one of them.
Oh my god. I mean, this is a bandwagon fan though. He doesn't count.
Oh my god.
He doesn't even know that Zuma used to be on the FaZe competitive team.
What?
See?
Exactly.
Wait.
He
Went
just
for-
learned right now.
There's no way. This
No,
guy
wait,
fell
wait,
right into that
No,
one.
what'd you say?
See,
Don't worry
exactly.
about it.
He doesn't even
Oh my
understand the question.
gosh. Okay.
I mean, there's a lot to discuss. I think Toronto, I mean, you can tell from kind of the slowdown in the rumors that like Scrappy is that one domino to fall, because it's like, okay, Toronto's either selling Kleenex and Insight or they're selling Scrappy, there's a good chance they're not doing both. So it's like everybody's kind of waiting for that to happen before all these new things happen. And I mean, one of the problems with that is we're gonna have to wait until the 2nd, which is only 2 days away. So I mean, boo-hoo, Call of Duty
can't
fans.
wait. I can't wait.
No.
Exactly.
Isn't
But
the
like
third?
once that
Is it
dominoes
the second
fall,
or the
it's gonna
third?
be crazy. The 2nd.
Okay.
I think it's
I'm
the
excited.
2nd. It's not the 2nd.
It doesn't matter. It's one day regardless. I'll just go a second, but I'm excited. It's going to be a fun time. The dominoes are going to fall like crazy because obviously the big ticket guys are going to go, and then everyone's just going to be just like rushing for what's left because there's a lot of talent here, but there's definitely like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, right? And like the tier 1s are going to go like obviously that's the first that's going to go. Unless we see like a team like you never know, like Rocker might just go right for the mid tier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they might
That's
just
possible
stack
for
4
sure.
mid tiers, boom, 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 and just be good to go. Like you never know. Like we could see a team like Rocker doing that. There could be a couple other teams that do that as well. But like just
Well,
for example,
actually,
in theory, the tier 1 should go first.
Well, what's interesting to me, CNK, is you might also see a race for those challengers players. Like I feel like there's going to be a race for Abuza, Gwyn, maybe Neptune, all
I
those
would
players
hope
that are
Gwyn.
kind of. It's going to be a race on like multiple fronts. It's like you got teams that are racing for first, and you got teams that are racing for like fifth.
Minimums.
It's kind of interesting, and we're going to see that happen live.
I mean,
I think this is going to be the craziest CDL roster mania to date. I think there's no doubt about it. I mean, just look at the teams that are empty. That's a lot of open spots. We talked about it forever, but I mean, we should be in for a good chunk of entertainment here. Yeah, but in the next couple of weeks or months, you never know.
Gwyn to Optic? I think so. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
They probably won't do a challengers player again, but if they did, Gwyn, baby.
Yup.
But I don't know. I think we're in for a good offseason here. We're in for a good season as well. I mean, I think we probably got to wrap this podcast up as well. We've been going a little bit longer than we normally do. But Dapper, you got anything for the boys?
I do not.
I'm going to tell you about
Shout
how
out
FaZe's going to win
Faceland.
this season.
I'm just kidding.
Wait, what? Wait, hold on. Was that FaZe doesn't get number 1 on the ladders again for the 5th year in a row?
Nice. Yeah,
Thank
there
you
go.
for pointing
Wait,
out.
you guys are gonna
the
win the
truth.
world championship again? Oh wait. Oh.
We
Ooh,
did.
yikes.
We did do it. We did do it once. I mean,
Yikes, bro.
Optic.
You won this year?
Let's see.
Dang.
They
I didn't realize you
won.
won.
They won. Oh man, forgot.
Optic
Haven't
has
won
won
yet.
as much as FaZe in the last 2 years.
See? All the same.
Talking about champs.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah.
Same in the
Wait,
last
no.
2 years.
Because we won in 2021. You know.
Yeah,
that was
it's
3
kind
years
of
ago.
neither here or there. Yeah, it's like that's a long time ago, Dapper. I'm talking about 2 seasons. Like that was like 3 seasons ago. I mean, it's very different.
I mean.
Hey, but regardless.
You know,
What were you gonna say?
Regardless.
I mean, yeah, regardless. Shout out the boys.
Absolutely.
The one I'm the most concerned about, though, out of all these players is Priesta. Bless that man. I hope he ends up back on New York, but there's a good chance it's chalk. But hey, you know what? That's gonna be. There's no way we're gonna end it like that. But that's gonna be the end of the Pood, boys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We got Matty Ice behind the desk, being the producer as always, killing it. The LA Thieves fan, you know how it is. He's gonna end up with a good roster. He's gonna be happy. He's happy right now. He's probably cheesing or something. Dapper.
There he is.
FaZe is going to be good, so I don't want to hear it. We all know they got the trio. What's the worst? The worst case scenario, they could pick up someone who's bad and just get second again. Like, what are you going to do? And
I mean,
hey, shout out Shio for stepping in for Jims. You can stop by
I
anytime.
don't think I can handle another second place.
Dude, what are you talking
But
about?
you didn't get second place this year.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
talking
third.
about,
That's
talking
true,
about
that's fact.
Vanguard, MW, especially Vanguard. Oh my god.
Maybe
Yeah, we're
win
here.
then.
We start at the top, and we're just slowly going down. You'll get 4th next
Yep.
season, and it'll be fine. We'll all be happy.
Oh man,
The rest
imagine
of
they
us-
get like 8th next season.
Ugh.
This guy would die. Oh my god, Matty
would-
Ice, no way.
Dude, I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan. I don't need another bad team in my life.
Yo,
I
speaking of
can't
which,
handle two.
imagine FaZe next season they go up 4-0. And then it just tumbles to the ground all the way down, and they lose to Optic. Dapper
Dapper would
would
literally
never
cry.
live it down.
Like,
I'd be in his
he would be
ear
comatose in
screaming.
his room.
Hey, after the Falcons gave up that lead to the Super Bowl to the Patriots, I cried.
Hey, you know what? That's all right.
I was sitting in front of my TV, and I was tearing up. I remember I was in a group chat with another Patriots fan. They were talking so
Dude.
much crap. I'm like, dude,
How many
oh my
Atlanta fans, man?
God.
How many Atlanta fans were like, I'm going to go to the store real quick. I got to get my groceries for this upcoming week. This one's chocked. We got it won. No big deal. Came back and they were like, what happened? There's
Dude,
no way. Like, man.
I remember I had to go to school the next day.
Oh,
I think
no.
I was a senior in high school in the Super Bowl, or junior, one and two. Dude, it was such a depressing day at school. I was like, I don't even want to be here, man. I just want to go back home.
I like where we were
It
about to
was
end the
bad.
podcast, and then we just didn't do that.
Yeah, but we're ending the podcast now, ladies and gentlemen. We already did a little bit of an outro. That's going to be it for us. Shout out Shio once again for stepping in. We love that.
Anytime.
Hey, anytime. Hey, you say the word, you're back on. You know what I'm saying? But that's going to be it from us. So, everyone, have a fantastic night. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.